Okay, wrong.
Well, I didn't want to talk about the God one, God two thing because I have an idea about how to think about it, maybe that
Yeah,
I'd
go
like
ahead.
to run past you.
Sure.
Um, so maybe you could think of God one as physical law, and then God two as the natural law or the ethical code. Um, and then you could sort of see by analogy why human beings as emergent or conscious beings um, have sort of the freedom, as you said, to either choose to follow the natural law or choose not to follow it. You could see by analogy how God could have the freedom to choose to follow the physical law and not um, and not follow it. Um,
Yeah.
or maybe another way of thinking about it would be God one as the physical layer and God two as the emergent layer. Um, so I think
Some
one way
sense.
of
That makes some sense. But my problem with God one and to me, God one represents both the what you call the physical laws and the natural law. So it's
oh
fitting the normative law. It's both, right? So um, we can't escape those laws. Now, even for normative law, right? So the thing is, we humans can make decisions. So we can say you come to a fork in the road, and you have to make a decision. Am I going to do good or am I going to do evil, or maybe it's two types of goods, but one may end up being better than the other. So you have to make a decision, and if it's a moral dilemma, then it's up to you to follow the moral rules or not. But you won't escape the consequences. That's what I mean by you can't escape the natural law. You can
ah
you can choose to not do the moral thing, but you will suffer the consequences. Right? Now the problem is, and this is Jordan Peterson talks about this or alludes to it, is that it's true that in one lifetime some people can get away with being immoral and basically not suffer for it. But what is the idea is that their descendants and their group and their tribe and their nation, or there's gonna be bad consequences downstream,
mm,
be somewhere somehow, if you do evil. That's
that's a good point.
right. So most of the time, people do suffer in their lifetime for doing evil. Occasionally they can get away with it. That's true, and that's why the idea of God, of of inferno versus heaven, and I can see that as a regulatory way to make people be moral. I get it.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to really actually believe literally in those things. But I get the idea, obviously, because some people might think that they can get away with murder, literally or figuratively, one or the other, and
Mm.
that it's no big deal because they'll get away with it. So it's like if they think nobody's watching, so to speak, then it's okay. But in our society, in our culture, we try to inculcate in people the fact that, well, for one thing, there are laws. So if you do something immoral, you'll be castigated by your own group, your society, even maybe your own family. Maybe you will be punished by the law, and so on and so on and so on. So there are consequences, to follow.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, that's the idea that I'm a very much a consequentialist. In that sense that my definition of what's good and bad is that eventually, good has good consequences, bad has bad consequences. And the problem is people always think, well, bad consequences like right now. No, sometimes it can take years, decades, generations for the bad to occur, and that's the problem. That's why Jordan Peterson is right on with this. It's that our his idea of when he was listing his potential ideas for what God represents, it's like represents what happens over periods of time that we can't even, fathom us in our limited time that we have on Earth. That these ideas, these archetypes, these rules are way, way beyond what anybody can figure out in their own lifetime. And that's why tradition and culture is very important to me. It's not like it's sacred in the sense that you can never question something in your own culture, and you can ask, hey, maybe we could do this a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And not reject your culture entirely. That's like suicide.
Mm-hmm.
We saw that in the 20th century. Horrible catastrophes: communism, Nazism, fascism. These were cultures that basically, okay, let's start from scratch. Let's reject everything that we know and build a new world on new foundations. Forget everything that our ancestors taught us. It's no good. We know better. And we're going to build this brave new world that is based basically on complete, well, in the case of the communists, basically, in their mind, it was a completely irrational thing to do. It was scientific materialism. So to them, it was really irrational. It was the best way to organize society. In the case of the Nazis and the fascists, it was a little different. It was based on an idea of racial superiority, and but again, to them it was what the science said. So in that sense, rationals to them it seemed rational, right? It was a scientific way. It was the the superior race must win because that's the Darwinian. It was their reading of Darwin's theory of evolution. In their view, that's what it meant. That's not at all what it means, but that's the idea they had.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's so God 1 and God 2. So God 2 to me, here's the problem I have with the idea of God 2, is that if you have an agent God that can intervene at any time, and basically countermand the laws of physics and the laws of the natural law anytime he wants. Of course, if he only does it on a very rare occasion, I guess we can live with it. But if it's too often, then we humans need order in our life. We need to have predictability in our life. Right?
Hey.
We need to be able to sort of figure out what's going to happen, that the sun's going to rise tomorrow, and that the seasons are gonna follow. I mean, so we know when to plant crops. And so if we have this world where on a whim, let's replace spring with another winter, let's prolong winter by 6 months, just because it's hard to live with that. So
here's an objection.
Yes, go ahead.
I think what you want is a complicated God, but not a complex God. Maybe. And I think part of what God 2 is all about is it's sort of something like a relationship you have with another person. You can never completely map it out and approach it with this what Paul van der Klee calls the spirit of geometry. You sort of need to approach it with the spirit of finesse, and you have to take these risks. You have to reach the fork in the road and then decide one option instead of the other, and never really having any certainty about which option is better. And so I think God 2 is more about the lived experience of real life, where you have to venture and take risks and walk out into the unknown. And maybe you could think about it sort of as the walled city, which is maybe God 1, and then the outside unknown, which is God 2, and then this venture out is what one way of thinking about it. Expands the known. So
that's a pretty good way of putting it. That's good. So you're making sense. It's yeah. I mean, again, I'll think about it. So that's why I know I leave it open to possibility, but so far, and I'm not the only one. There's, many other people in my situation that, are just, I don't know. It's, I have a pretty irrational mind, and it's very difficult to let go of that. But on the other hand, I'll say I'm not an anti-theist. In fact, on Thursday, I'm talking to
Adam Friended.
Adam Friended. I don't know what time yet, but I'm supposed to do a video with him on Thursday.
Sounds good.
I don't know when you'll post it, though, or if you'll post it. He may, who knows? It depends how it goes. But I think we agree on a lot of stuff, obviously, from what I've seen. So we'll see. We're going to talk, and maybe we'll disagree on a few things. But it seems to me that, and maybe I'm a little bit more open to the idea of God too, possibly, than he is. But on the other hand, we do have a lot in common. So we'll see how that goes. But
well, I mean, when you say you get the idea of God one, but you're a naturalist, does that mean you sort of like the idea symbolically, but you're sort of not willing to say there's enough evidence to believe in it, or something like that? Or
God one, if you believe it as a symbol for the natural law and the laws of the universe, including the laws of complexity in the human world and human interaction, yeah, I believe in that. But see, that's different than God, an agent, right? That actually cares about me personally, right? The laws of physics don't care about me. If I jump from the Empire State Building, I'll crash, and they don't care that I live or die. They just act on me. Same thing with even the laws of moral. Like I told you, my view is if I act immorally, I probably will pay a price. If I don't pay a price, my children will pay a price. If they don't pay a price, their children will pay a price. Somebody will pay a price at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a law. It's just the way it is. You can't do anything about it. I mean, that's you are subject to these laws, and that but of course the laws of of complexity are much more difficult to figure out than the laws of physics, and the laws of physics are not easy, but the laws that rule human interaction are vastly more complicated in that sense. Because that's why I like to do theory and systems control theory and those kinds of things, because that's how you can sort of tease out how you can make it work. But right now, so far, mostly we figure out how to live with each other by trial and error. Right? So we've slowly figured out over the course of centuries and millennia how to better organize society so we end up not killing each other, right? So we've made a lot of progress, but we still have a lot. We still have some progress to make. You still there? Oh, the picture is gone.